Hey, I'm Jake. In this video, we're going to continue with our Making a Website series, where we make a website from scratch. The first video, we made a static HTML website just with an HTML file and CSS. The second video, just before this, we upgraded that to host that on a Flask server. And in this video, we're going to update our Flask server by being able to read values from a form and use templates a bit better. So let's do it. All right, first things first, what does our server look like? So let me pull up our server here. This is what it's looking like right now, where I have run it using, let me just clear this out and run this again. Flask run dash debug, and this is in a new video 3 directory. As always, all of the code for this will be linked in the description below, just on my GitHub. So feel free to go grab it and do whatever, or you can follow along, whatever you want. Cool. So here's our website. We have our home. This is the home page. We just have some random stuff here. Then we have an about page, which we don't have yet. We can add it eventually, but we have a register page. And within our register page, we can type in like Jake and test and click register, and nothing happens, seemingly. So what's actually happening here is when we click register, it comes to this register function here, because that's where the register route is going. Because if we go and look at our register.html, that is where the action is pointing. And if we go here, well, we just immediately decide to render a template. So let's update this so that instead we're going to print out whatever the values are that the user entered. So let's do that. All right, in order to do this, we're going to add a couple of things to our import. We're going to import request, redirect, and URL for. And we're going to use all of these within our register function. So first things first, we're going to say if request.method equals post, then we are going to handle it as a post request. Otherwise, you could put an else, but you don't need to, because if this isn't true, it's going to fall down here and just return the register.html. All right, so now we want to be able to get the username and the password from our form. And this is actually going to be stored within a form dictionary. And if you remember, we can access values from a dictionary using square brackets. So what we're going to do is say username equals request.form, and then we're going to pass it username. And again, this username has to map to this name within this input. So this name value here is what you're going to be looking for. So the next one is password. So we're going to get a password as well. So password equals request.form password. Great. Then let's go ahead and print the username and password. Obviously, we're going to remove this afterwards. So we have updated our code. Let's go back here and just put in Jake test and click register. Now we come right back to this site, obviously, but if we come back here, now we can see within the console that we have Jake and test. Test was the password. Surprise! Now, when a user registers, maybe we want to redirect them to something. So instead of rendering this template, we can actually reroute the user to the home page. So let's do that. So in order to do that, we're going to do return, redirect, and then we're going to do URL for, and then we're going to pass it home. Now this home actually just has to match the function name for whatever the other route is. So if this was named happy, we would have this set to happy. Now, if we go ahead and save this, and we go back to our page and refresh, let's just go back here, and there we go. And then we do Jake, and then we do test, and then we click register. We are rerouted to the home page. And no, I'm not saving my password here. So that's it. It works. So far, so good. So there's one other thing we're going to make a little bit better in this video. And that is something that you might have noticed in the last video, which we have this awesome index page and this awesome register page. But you might notice that a lot of it is very similar. Specifically, this navbar. It's almost the exact same between index and register. Well, it is the exact same. So what we can do using this Jinja framework, which is part of Flask, or it's built into Flask, is we can actually make another file that is for our navbar. So let's go ahead and do that, called navbar.html. And then we can put our navbar within that. So we can just go ahead and cut this and paste this in here. And then all we have to do is within our index.html, we can just do the squiggle brace, %, and then it ends with a %. And then within here, we're going to do include and then navbar.html. And if we reference this, this has to be within the same folder as, well, whatever we're referencing it from. Otherwise, you would want to reference it from the root, basically. So we can go ahead and save that. And we can do the exact same from register. So if we just get rid of this and do this, then when we go back to our website and we refresh, we can see we still have a navbar. But that now means that if we ever want to update the navbar, then we just have to update it in one place. So for instance, let's say that we maybe want to have some other field added to this nav right. Well, let me copy and paste some code in just a second. We can also do if statements and if checks here. So what if we do this? So if the header name is defined, meaning this is set somewhere within this rendering pipeline, then we are going to render this. Otherwise, we're closing this statement. So that's what this is doing here. And then if it is defined, we're going to actually have that header name referenced here. So you can kind of think of these squiggle brackets as if you want to be able to do a check or import something or something like that, you're probably going to do the squiggle bracket and the %, because here we're checking some value. If you want to actually render that value and treat it as though it's just there within the HTML, you're going to do the 2 squiggle brackets instead. I know squiggle bracket sounds like a very official term, but whatever. All right, cool. So what happens if we go ahead and do this now? Well, if we refresh, you can see nothing happens. But just to show you that this is actually being referenced, we can update this here, and we can go back and refresh this, and now there's an exclamation mark. So how do we reference this header name? How do we set this header name? Well, for register, let's go ahead and set it. So within our app.py, when we call render template, you can simply pass in extra values. And that's where this template context comes in. Excuse me. Whew, I was going to sneeze. So here, what did we call it? Here we called it header name. So here we can just do header name equals subscribe. Subscribe. Now, if we go ahead and go back here and we refresh, it's not there. That's because we're not on the register page. But if we go to the register page, subscribe if you want. Or not, whatever you want. So ta-da, there we go. Now we have something that is in a shared file, but it's only rendering it in specific instances. So this is something that is called componentization. Yeah, I said it right. So basically what that means is that one way that websites used to be built, like a long time ago, was you would have a big file and you wouldn't really be able to have it broken up that much because you couldn't do things like this where you're including different forms of the HTML within each other. You could kind of do it with iframes, but like let's not talk about iframes right now. So what this allows us to do though, using componentization or just components, is that now you can have little chunks of your code broken up into smaller chunks. So that means it's going to be way easier to find an issue, because say you have this huge file where it's hundreds of lines long and there's an issue with a specific little part for it. Maybe some part somewhere else within the file is now affecting it. Well, that's probably not the case for this because we're just adding in this navbar. That's not to say that it's not possible that like CSS could cause some issue, because CSS just is applied for everything. But this allows you to make things a lot cleaner, have smaller files, and it's way easier to find specifically what you want to change. Plus, it reduces duplicate code. So that's all for this video. I hope you liked it. In the next video, we are going to hook up to a database. I know, pretty fast. If you want to see that one, consider subscribing so you'll maybe be notified if you ding that bell or whatever you do. Well, that's all for this one. Have a good one. Bye.